Welcome back. This is Inside Politics on KTN News. Thank you for staying with us on the program. Now, when we ended the first part, Kipchumba Karori was saying that the ODM leader, Raila Odinga, has the eye for talent, but does not have the capacity, to nurture that talent. Kenneth Chesa, you seem to disagree with that.
I disagree with my learned senior's assertion that Raila Odinga has a gift of identifying talent, but cannot nurture and maintain that particular talent. Nothing then can be further from the truth. Raila Odinga has nurtured and sustained very many talented politicians in this country. Raila Odinga is a political institution in our democracy. I say so advisedly because all our politicians, as they stand today, other than President Uhuru Kenyatta, have been political interns in Raila Odinga's School of Politics at one time. William Ruto was Raila's political intern. He ran away before the internship program was complete. Musalia Mudavadi has been coming for internships on and off. He is currently off. He will again be on. Moses Wetangula had his career resurrected by Raila Odinga when the High Court in Bungoma nullified his election and Musikari Kombo was on the verge of rendering him irrelevant. And therefore, let us give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar. ODM party has a party leader called Raila Odinga. Raila Odinga believes in some ideologies. Some of the ideologies that he believes in is complete loyalty, complete trust in the party structures. If anyone is not interested in those virtues as espoused by Odinga, like William Ruto was, he took off. He has never looked back. If Olekina thinks that time has come for Raila to allow more independence within a party structure, Olekina can still take off and either go and vie as independent candidate or form his political party or join Jubilee for that matter. Otherwise, let us give credit to where it is due. Raila Odinga has maintained and resurrected many political careers. When Musalia Mudavadi lost elections in Sabatia in 2002, Raila took his hand in 2005, brought him to the political limelight, made him MP for Sabatia, appointed him Deputy Prime Minister, and has maintained him on the national platform. And in summary, I'm trying to say that politicians who are almost losing irrelevance have a tendency of hanging around Raila Odinga to gain political relevance. And once they acquire the larger-than-life image, they think that they can outwit him, and they try fighting him. What will you be doing in ODM if you are dissatisfied with it?
Fair enough. Very well said. Dismas, there is a feeling or thought, school of thought, that the ODM party leadership does not want a very independent-minded person to chair the County Public Accounts and Investments Committee. Would you agree with this?
Well, I don't think that assertion is an accurate one. What every political party wants is that when you are sent to a particular committee, you dance to the drum beats of that political party. So when you sit down and agree that our candidate for this seat is going to be Professor Ongeri, you have the unique responsibility of ensuring that it's Professor Ongeri who takes the position. But midway in the conversation, if you decide that you are going to take sides and work with Tanga Tanga or Keleweke to upset the party position, then the party needs to come in and stamp its authority. So whatever the party did, in my view, was in order, and it happens all over the world. A few days ago, when there was an impeachment agenda against Donald Trump, he looked at the members of his political party, the Republicans, and he told them, if you're not going to support my position, let me know. And if you declare that you're not going to support me, then you will be on your way home. So in fact, if Olekina feels that he's now liberal, is an independent thinker, and he's got the he's got the vote behind him, then he should do the most honorable thing that we expect when people disagree to do. If he has capacity, let him resign today, run for that seat, and then go back to the Senate as an independent member, then go back to the very committee and see whether he's going to be elected. But while we respect that every political party has got this unique opportunity to do as they please, they must look at the face of Kenya. When you look at the leadership of both the National Assembly and the Senate, all the leadership positions, apart from the Muvita MP, all of them come from the former Nyanza province. Look at the majority leader at the National Assembly, majority leader at the Senate, minority leader at the National Assembly, minority leader at the Senate, the chief whip, everybody. They come from either Kisii or Nyanza province. So if you're telling us that you want to have a strong political party with a national face, then how can you just appoint people from your village or across the road to these leadership positions? So Raila Odinga, in as much as this is a political party, because there's a thin line between Raila Odinga and ODM, all of them are synonyms, he must show leadership that he's leading a national political party and allow other talent to come in. But when you're allowed as a talent, do not come and start flexing your muscles. If you think Raila Odinga is a dictator, is a bully, and you want to take him head on, resign or run as an independent. You know, when you join a political party, you're not bound by chains to this political party. If you're unhappy, just take a walk and seek for another term instead of running around and telling us that Raila is fighting me. I thought that it was very naive of Olekina to imagine that Raila Odinga can start fighting a senator. I mean, Raila Odinga has got a system at the flick of his finger which is going to punish him. And then the point raised by Ken that Raila is responsible for resuscitating many political careers, I think that's on the extreme side. There are people, I mean, like for instance, you have Babu Namwamba. After falling out with Raila Odinga, it's not Raila Odinga who appointed him as a CIS. It's not Raila Odinga who appointed William Samoei Ruto as the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. In as much as Raila has got this political capital, the people who will get out of the wings of Raila Odinga and challenge him. So we may just find that it's going to be a Raila Odinga and William Samoei Ruto battle in 2022.
But this must, the appointment of Babu Namwamba as CIS, many people wouldn't say it has resurrected him politically. It has tried to rehabilitate him. But do you disagree with the fact that Raila Odinga has held the hand of one Musalia Mudavadi when he was on the brink of political extinction?
You see, during every election, people come together and they look at numbers. Unfortunately, that's what happens in Kenya. So people ask themselves during an election, what numbers do you have? What numbers can you place on the table? And it's Raila always who is pursuing his selfish interest, who goes out to fish people he thinks are going to add political capital. Right now, if Raila thinks, say, Olekina is going to add any political capital in his campaign to secure the MA votes, he'll bring him back and he'll ensure that he's on board. Raila does not just go looking for, Tom, Dick, and Harry to join his political party. Otherwise, I mean, there are so many Kenyans today who would be in the middle of it. So he identifies political talent. But just to imagine that him alone can take you to the next level, it will not happen. I mean, Raila Odinga was with the president during when we were voting for the Chungwa. But the president decided to pull out. He carved his political space. And now he's the president of the Republic of Kenya. I'm talking about President Kenyatta. Okay. So this fallacy being created in Kenya that unless Raila blesses you, he places his hand on your head, you are going nowhere. There are many people who will get out of his wings and they make a huge success. The president is one of them, Musalia is one of them, Ruto is one of them.
Mark, what is your take on Raila Odinga's style of leadership and the leadership inside ODM? But do you think ODM is a democratic party? And because we're talking about these purges, when Moses Wetangula was purged from his position as chairman, as a minority leader in the Senate, the Narok Senator, Ledama Olekina, was seen to enforce that move, saying that Moses Wetangula was a man with one cow and couldn't purport to be a chairman of the cattle dip. Now the axe is falling on himself. Do you think ODM is a democratic party?
Let me first remind Dismas that he needs to change his gauge for who is a resounding success politically, because I highly doubt that 300,000 votes in 2013 made Mudavadi a resounding success. I'd really like to know his metrics, because he just compared Mudavadi to Ruto and Uhuru Kenyatta, who are successes, but not so much Mudavadi. But that said, is ODM democratic? Let's understand one thing. In Kenya, the reason why we struggle to understand political democracy through political parties is because we've never had parties within the multi-party system that have lasted for long. Here's what I mean. In the UK today, if you do not toe the party line, it is expected that you resign and you leave the position that has been bequeathed to you by virtue of the party. Now, that's very, very important to understand. There are certain positions that are bequeathed to you by virtue of the party that you exist under. You cannot then stand and say that I am going to run amok and run awry of what the party wants and expect to be supported by the same party. It does not work. And that is why even the framers of the standing orders, the framers of the constitution and the laws that govern parliament made it very clear that it is possible for a party to de-whip you of any position, including the MPship or senatorship itself, because the Senate position you have, you came under a political party. If that political party, through its mechanisms, removes you from its ranks, then you also lose your Senate seat. So in ODM doing what it is doing, it is actually strengthening democracy. Now we can argue the points of, do we want an independent thinking Ledama, and it's his independence the problem that he's having with the party? That's a totally separate issue. The issue is that the actions of ODM within Senate this particular week are within the law and are to the benefit of the tenets of democracy, especially a multi-party democracy. That said, the arguments and the rumors and innuendo of whether Ledama Olikina was going to run roughshod of Raila Odinga remains to be seen, because there is nothing, it's not the chairmanship of this particular committee that gives him the ability to run against Raila Odinga. He has a voice, he has a social media platform, he can go to media anytime, and he can go to the floor of the Senate and actually do the opposite of what Raila wants. His bravery is not judged only when he's a chairman. Let him show that bravery even where he is.
Let me ask you this, Mark. What is your crystal ball telling you on what's going to happen to the Narok senator? Because the Bungoma senator did warn the ODM party that that divorce was going to be messy and noisy and with casualties. In the end, it was very quiet, and he was the only casualty. And the Narok senator, in the beginning of this, he said that, you know, the party was messing with the wrong number. How do you see this one ending up?
Well, he has to say that because of his own personal ego. But the truth of the matter is, and he should probably learn from Moses Wetangula, that Raila Odinga and the ODM party are not things to be stared down with kid gloves. If you do not have the financial muscle, the political muscle to do so, please don't dare. Let us also remember that Olekina is a political novice of great standing nonetheless, but he's a novice. And the games that ODM can play around his head can end his career if he thinks that because he spoke very strongly about and vociferously about defending the Mau forest for the Mau community, and that's enough for him. He needs to remember that Raila Odinga paid the ultimate price because of that very same forest in losing the Kalenjin support towards the 2013 election. So he does not have much against Raila, and there's very little in his backyard, in his arsenal, that's going to defend him against a Raila onslaught should he decide to take Raila on.
Great. Jero, let me come to you. We seem to be losing you on the Zoom. I hope Kenya Power is not switching you off. I hope you're with us now. And there was a letter from my majority leader in the Senate, Kipchumba Murkomen, the Elgeyo Marakwet senator, saying that it was their considered opinion that this position of chairman or chairperson of the County Public Accounts and Investments Committee should not be a preserve of either party. Right now, according to the standing orders, it is a preserve of the minority party or coalition of parties. He was saying that it should be left to the senators to decide who is fit to be chair. Do you think he has a point?
I think that Senator Murkomen has a point, because ultimately any senator chairing any one of the committees is there for the 47 counties of the Republic of Kenya. It is not a question of if you are a ruling party or minority that you will represent the counties that reflect where your party operates. So in a way, that is something that should be addressed and possibly tackled during the next August House. But I just want to reflect on something, listening to all of you. I have not heard a single reference back to Wanjiko. When I listen to the wrangles at that level, Whether my sympathies are with ODM or my sympathies are with Ledama, or saying he should toe the line, or all this great comparison of or description of Right Honorable Raila Odinga. I mean, I think he has even surpassed the late President Moi as a professor of politics. With all of those kind of accolades and adjectives and ideas around what ODM is and how the party line should be towed, not once has there been any kind of reference to the ethos and the philosophy of what these political parties stand. So we might be looking at ODM now, and for me, I see a clear lack of democracy there. But we could also be looking at Jubilee and looking at the Kieleweke Tanga factions that have emerged, or any other political party. Ultimately, for me, none of these discussions have a bearing on the protection of devolution, of the protection of Wanjiku. So I move away from the high political analysis to say, ultimately, what does this mean? If we are hearing that there's potentially referendum coming up first week in August, that the rumbles are back in motion to start looking at BBI, COVID-19 notwithstanding, then once again as Kenyans, we're going to be led down this garden path. And this garden path is one that does not help us understand how better to put food on our tables. And about Senator Ledama Olekina, if I were to assess his ability to chair the committee, I would also look at his past performance. My entry point is his role when he was on the Senate Energy Committee. I'd like him to tell me what he did. I know he was vociferously in defense of the appointment of the GDC chair, but the same GDC was very busy shall I say, taking the rights away of many members of the Ma Nation, as he likes to call it. So I also look at track record. So ultimately, even though I may be sympathetic and feel that Ledama is a little bit of the underdog, I also say, what's your track record? What is your history of protecting Kenyans, not just people from the Maasai Nation, but all Kenyans? That is what I'm interested in. So whether it is a Kieleweke, a Tanga, an ODM, majority, minority, I want to know what you are doing to protect the people of the Republic of Kenya. And that is exactly where I get off in terms of the analysis. As for ODM, let the wagons continue to be circled. There's obviously something afoot, and we'll come back and revisit this one of these days to understand why it is that it is so important that Professor Ongeri be the chair of this committee.
Well said. Kipchumba, have the final say on this. I have two questions for you. Do you then think, basing on what Jerotich is saying, that it is Wanjiku and Mora and Nafula who are being betrayed in this democracy that is happening inside our Senate, Parliament, to be precise? And the second question is, where do you see this landing us in terms of what our legislature means in terms of, oversight of devolution and all that?
Thank you, Ben. When you read Article 96 that sets down the roles of Senate, you get a feeling that the Senate has three roles: to legislate, represent, and oversight. I don't know at what point the legislators in the last Senate saw it fit to qualify that a senator from the minority party must chair the CPAIC. Because in there lies a problem, because the Constitution has given all senators the same role to oversight, legislate, and represent. By oversighting, we mean any senator can chair that CPAIC. So away from the Jubilee ODM politics and the letter from Murkomen, I think there is need for us to have a sober look into how we constitute the CPAIC and all the Senate, either sessional or standing committees, because every senator has capacity and has a role. They earn a salary for oversighting and for being the guardian angels of devolution. Therefore, the issue of qualifying one and attaching them to a political party will lose that point. The other aspect is this, Ben. I sympathize with Ledama Olekina because from where I sit, Ledama Olekina is a pedigree test tube moran, and he has a bigger-than-life ego that has made him think that he is very consequential in Ma politics. It is just Olekina trying to post his political capital so that he inherits the shoes that were left behind by the late Olentimama. And I want to remind Olekina, that there is a youth by the name of Memusi.
All right, we seem to be losing the audio of Kipchumba. They are saying very important things. We'll try to fix that for you. Bwana Wakili, maybe you can summarize this for us. Where does this leave our legislature in terms of oversight, specifically in the Senate? That is, of course, devolution.
I want to agree with what Kipchumba Karori is saying, that the role of the Senate is clearly outlined under Article 96 of our Constitution. And to say the least, if Parliament, if the Senate were to be functional in a manner that the Constitution has designed it, we will not be talking about the minority or the majority. Remember that government has three organs. We have Parliament, we have the executive, and we have the judiciary. Parliament should be as independent from the executive as is the judiciary. But in Kenya, there is a thin line between Jubilee in government and Jubilee in Parliament. NASA in opposition, or NASA on the streets, and NASA in Parliament. We should be looking forward to a situation where Parliament is very, very independent, Parliament is functional, and it does not matter who becomes the chair of County Public Accounts and Investment Committee. Even if Kipchumba Murkomen became the chair of that particular committee, Kenyans should be happy that Kipchumba Murkomen understands the role of the Senate, appreciates it, and he will discharge that function lawfully and in compliance with the Constitution. Saying so, we then appreciate the circumstances surrounding the relationship between Kenyan Parliament and the Kenyan Executive. And while appreciating that, we must therefore say that it is important that the leader of CPAIC comes from the opposition, because government cannot oversight itself. Jubilee is in Senate through its senators. If we allowed any senator to become the chair of such a crucial oversight committee, we are then allowing the president to choose who to oversight his institutions and to oversight our counties, which will be counterproductive. So unless we achieve the high democratic standards of having a functionally independent parliament, it is important that we let the opposition take charge of crucial oversight committees.
Thank you for that. So we leave it. It is a story, a debate that is currently ongoing, even as we wait and see what will be happening in the Senate concerning the all-important County Public Accounts and Investments Committee. Let's take a quick commercial break here on Inside Politics. When we come back, we shall be talking about Kenya's debt burden that has been